After Everything You Did, by Stephanie Sowden. Read by Bridget Lappin. For Mum and Dad, for everything. Prologue. March 1966. It was a slow amble toward consciousness. The world gradually brightened. Sound crept in down her ear canal. Light pried apart her lashes, demanding entrance. Sleep encrusted her eyelids, and she felt them crunch as they pulled apart, one eye refusing her effort, her skin weighed down by fatigue. The square gray ceiling tiles blurred into detail. She didn't recognize them. But then, she wasn't sure what she would recognize. She turned her head to one side, and a soft pain pushed into her from beneath thick bandages. A worn green curtain was pulled around her, the sound of someone clattering about on the other side. She was in a bed. She realized that now. Outstretched on a thin, firm mattress, her sore head propped up by a flat pillow. In fact, her entire body was sore. Her skin itched and burned, her joints ached, her insides rumbled. A phantom piece of fluff flittered around her nose. Her face was swaddled heavily in dressings and bandages, but the tip of her nose itched all the same. Instinct moved her hand. Metal stayed her wrist. Another attempt. Another rattle of metal against metal. She was shackled, handcuffed to the bed. What the fuck had happened? The sound of the curtain pulling back, light aluminum coils against their rail, the swoosh of cheap fabric. "Ah, you're awake then," a voice said. Impassive, professional. Not the sympathetic tone she would expect, considering. A white tunic moved closer and inspected the tubes snaking into her arms, its host marking something down on a clipboard. "How are you feeling?" the voice demanded. She opened her mouth, but sandpaper scratched against her vocal cords. A dry gurgle scraped out. "There's water here for you," the nurse said, picking up a plastic tumbler and holding it against her cracked lips. The water tasted stale and warm. It must have been out since she'd arrived. When had she arrived? That question had no answer that would make sense. Time was immaterial. Days, months, years were blanks. What had happened before the hospital? She could conjure a general image of the world. Buses, roads, televisions, restaurants, trees, people. But couldn't place herself in it. She understood the concept of the hospital. She knew the nurse was there to help her. She knew that something bad had happened for her to be there. But she didn't know what or why. Or even who. It would come back to her. Of course it would. An entire life didn't just disappear. The water moistened her throat a little, and she found she could just about make a guttural sound molded into words. "What happened?" she finally asked after several failed attempts. The nurse paused for a moment and sighed. "You were in a car crash on the I-75, heading down to South Florida. I can't really tell you any more than that now." Her voice was still hard. No words of comfort for the patient lying at her mercy. "Agents Willow and Stevens have been alerted that you're awake. They'll be here for you soon." Agents? Oh yes, the handcuffs. She moved her wrist again just to make sure she remembered those correctly. They rattled obediently. "Why?" she asked, the single syllable a struggle. The nurse stopped what she was doing for the first time and looked down at her, a curious frown on her face. After a moment's scrutiny, she spoke. I'd say you probably already know that. After that, she fell asleep. She didn't know how long for. How could she? But she felt more human, more conscious when she awoke again. Her mind was blank but sharp, her body still fractured and agonizing. This time, there were 2 suited men occupying her space. One sat in the chair to her left, one pacing at the end of her bed, his tie loosened around his throat, so tufts of dark curly hair poked free from his shirt. Welcome back, Reeta, the seated one said. The other stopped pacing and looked at her, an expression of anticipation and relief flooding his features. We've been waiting a long time to talk to you. The one in the chair leaned forward, so his dark blue jacket fell open a touch, revealing a holstered weapon and a metallic shield. She didn't speak. Didn't have anything to say. I'm Agent Stevens, the standing man said, and nodded at his seated colleague. And this here is Agent Willow. And like he said, we've been waiting a long time for this. For what? She croaked. Stevens chuckled silently, a quick shake of his head. For you to wake up. We've been on your trail since Mississippi. Willow chimed in, a sinister note of satisfaction etching the outline of his words. We've been close to you all the way, building our file, just waiting for this moment. He stabbed a chubby forefinger at her. Right here. We knew it would come. No one can run forever, Reeta. Reeta. That must be her name. Reeta. Reeta, 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 Reeta. No matter how many times she rolled the name over, it snagged on nothing. But it must be hers. She clung to it like a buoy in open water. Something must be connected to the ground to stop her from drifting madly. Reeta. She tried it out, the sound new and alien in her mouth. She coughed a little and tried again. Reeta. The 2 agents looked at each other, suspicion creasing their eyes. Yes, that's right, and we'd love a family name if you have one for us. Reeta, she said again. It doesn't matter. Willow? Or was it Stevens? Whichever one was seated. He sat back and adjusted his jacket accordingly. We don't think you're registered anyway. It doesn't stop the wheels of justice from turning, Reeta. No name doesn't mean no crime. What crime? She asked. Was she the victim? The handcuffs suggested otherwise. Stevens laughed, a surprising hard sound. We'll let you get away with that this time. You've only just woken up. He put his hands on the metal bar at the end of her bed and leaned forward with all his weight, so her head tipped up ever so slightly. But my advice to you is you show some remorse, some respect to those girls. There's no getting away now, so at least do the decent thing. His voice swam with vitriol. He hated her. After that, they left her, promising to return tomorrow. She must have slept that first night. But she never recalled the usual settling down to rest as her mind slowly turned over the events of the day until, at last, it fell to peace. What the agents had said made no sense to her. What girls? Why did she need remorse or respect for them? What could she have possibly done? The next day they returned, as promised, and still she had nothing to tell them. Stevens, the dark-haired one with a thick mustache and olive complexion, smacked his entire body weight onto the edge of her bed when she told them she didn't know what they were talking about. Her body tensed at the unexpected rough movement, and she released a groan into the room. The nurse on the other side of the curtain did nothing.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?